This is meant to be somewhat of a explanation in my own way to the best of my ability that I can explain on why I sort of have a beef with a particular denomination. And before I go on further, I know that I have said that, I mentally want to take somebody out, and if that so happens, then that would be the spoils of the war, so to speak. And what I mean by that statement, you know, it isn't necessarily, make them have a full-on mental breakdown, because no one would want to go through that. And what I meant by that statement is that I want people to try to understand to the best of my ability on some of the more idiotic and, to use, more elementary words, dumb stuff that went down, And as far as a specific denomination is concerned, it's definitely one of the great denominations of Christianity, but unfortunately, there have been multiple moments where they've just, metaphorically speaking, again, have shot themselves in the foot on multiple opportunities as far as public relations go. And, enough with the whining and moaning part of this video. It's growing up, yeah, we were raised in this denomination. And then we moved to the smaller town, and it's Saturday we did the Seventh-day Adventist church, and Sunday we did your normal church. So weekends were more church stuff. Okay, fine. As you get older, it was okay. Then you flipped the switch and then did this non-denominational church. It did, the top 40 Christian stuff, for the worship music and all of that. And, that was cool. And then it's one evening I asked my mom what this particular denomination's service is like. And we attended, and, I said, it's cool. But I have also told her multiple times, I never intended on going to this specific denomination for the rest of, my life up until this point, It is just, whatever. And the reason why I say that, despite being raised in this specific denomination, is that when we came to this specific town I'm speaking of, these Protestant-based churches are ones that I, kind of remember more, the most of, And at one point in time, it's I could say with some enthusiastic response that, yes, I'm a part of this specific church. But now, not so much. And at 26, you're kind of at that crossroads, and you've been there for a while, and you just kind of start to question, hey, what's this? And when this even goes back to sometime in third grade, when we visited the town I was originally raised in, or at least born in, or whatever. They had this one particular church of this denomination, And I was told by my mom, it's like you had to go through classes in order to take this communion, which right off the bat, as a kid, I was like, in my own way, I'm like, that sounds like a bunch of BS. You know? So even at that young age, I was kind of like, you know. And then when we started going through like the faith formation at this particular denomination, they were trying to go for like the old school, saying like, oh, these people of this denomination can't go to weddings of a Protestant church. Well, being somewhere on the spectrum as far as special needs goes, we were invited to the wedding of a former PCA, so of course we're going to go to that, right? We get to this Lutheran church in this town. We walk into this, the area where the congregation sits. We sit down at the pew. We're in. I look a couple pews ahead of us. There's a family from the local Catholic church there. So, second time, you're like, well, they're doing this. Church is saying one thing, so that's just a bunch of bull. And then when a tornado hit Wadena, and this one kid there who basically had his own very explicit opinions on such a matter, and this former financial guy just was ripping into him in front of God and everybody. And and one of the other guys that was there raised his hand and said, Steve, I'm calling you out, sue me. And said, Steve, I think you're misunderstanding him. And afterwards, they took this Steve dude into like the little kitchen area and basically like chewed him out. And this Wadena kid, we don't know where he is now. Sorry about that. It's Tuesday, I think, in 2020, and we still don't know where this person is. And later on, somebody had said to me that they would think that it would be a sad day if I ever, quote unquote, did the whole gender change thing. And well, obviously, nothing has gone through with that, but here we are, like years later after that fact. I posted a comment saying something regarding that, and here we are years later, and nothing's really happened because we had this one, therapist person who was working out, I think. Then we switched to this other person, but unfortunately what happened is he allowed some of the BS from the former group home I was at to trickle into this therapy session, and we got sidetracked. We don't have to talk about the same subject matter day in and day out, but when your original intent is one thing and you get sidetracked, things get kind of weird. So my whole thing on that is, why would you even bother with that particular idea? And back on the church thing, I thought, okay, Episcopal versus Lutheran, Episcopal is cool in the sense that, hey, there's some similarities. It's just some enough similarities just to say, hey, we're there in my mind. And they got, all the stuff, and someone says, well, they don't have this, they don't have that. Sweetheart, what was the Episcopal Church in the country in which Anglicanism became a thing, England, or Great Britain, what originally it was a Catholic country, so of course there's going to be some similarities. I mean, I don't know a lot about religious history, so this wouldn't be the video to use as a sole definition. But on the Episcopal Church, we found out, via like Lutheran Church, specifically ELCA, you feel better at that, and I kind of feel, would feel a bit more right to be a part of, either one of these nominations, So, I know this, I probably didn't explain a lot in this little video. Maybe we'll do one later on this, who knows, but with that, that's about it. Peace out.